Hello again. So, I wanted to talk about masturbation, female masturbation specifically. I'm a post-operative transsexual. I had my surgery on December 12th. So, I had to learn how to masturbate as a woman. So, I thought I would talk a little bit about, female masturbation and kind of share some of my ideas and some of the stuff that I've just discovered. And maybe this will be useful to other people. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer. My equipment is not exactly the same as other women's equipment. My vagina and vulva used to be a penis and scrotum. Okay? But I have all the basic parts and pieces. I've got a vagina and labia and a clitoris and a hood and all that stuff. And I think, there might be just some of the stuff, just some kind of general stuff I think will be applicable to anyone with a vagina and vulva, regardless of whether they were born with it or not. So let us get on with it, or get off with it as the case may be. So first off, I'm going to talk about the importance of masturbation. Masturbation is empowering. Okay? We need to be able to get ourselves off. Empowered women can get themselves off. I'll say it again. Empowered women can get themselves off. We should not have to rely on somebody else to get us off, because that somebody, they might not be available right now or ever. In my case, I don't have a somebody else at the moment. So either I do it myself or it doesn't get done. So we need to be able to get ourselves off. So if we're in the mood and we want to have an orgasm, we can have that. And we don't have to worry about the fact that our boyfriend isn't available, or girlfriend, or whatever. Or maybe we currently don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend. Or maybe you're asexual and you don't want a boyfriend or girlfriend, but you still want the O's. Okay? The other way in which masturbation is empowering is it can make our sex lives better. If we spend time masturbating, we learn about our bodies and we learn about what we like. And then when we go to have sex, we can communicate that with our partners. So that way they know what we like. Our partners are not mind readers. Like, even if you're dealing with like gay sex, okay, you might have the same parts and pieces as your partner, but still, what you like might be a little different from what they like. And this is especially going to be true in my case, because my equipment is a little bit different than it is for natal women. So if I'm having sex with a natal woman, well, what she likes may not be quite the same as what I like. So it's important to be able to communicate with your partner. And you learn what you like through masturbation, just playing with yourself and exploring your body. And then you get to learning, what you like, what feels good, what you don't like. And then you can communicate that with your partner. Now, on to the masturbation. So, I think the first step in female masturbation is learning about your parts and pieces. It's really kind of sad, like how many women just don't fully understand what all they've got going on there. like, I don't have any like figures for this right offhand, but apparently there are a surprising number of women who think that pee comes out of their vagina. It's like, really? So if you're not familiar with all the parts and pieces of the female sexual anatomy, take the time to learn it. Okay? Like, for example, you have like the term, you have these terms for like the whole thing, like the slang term pussy or cunt or whatever, right? Oh no, I said the C word. The feminists are going to be upset. Anyway. And, then you've got the term vagina, which gets used as a general term for the whole thing. But that's not entirely accurate. Basically, to kind of look at it in a sort of simplistic way, the vagina is the part on the inside, and then the part on the outside, that's the vulva. All of the external genitalia, that's your vulva. Now, in my case, that's pretty accurate, because I don't have a lot of the parts and pieces that other women have. I don't have a uterus, a cervix, an ovaries, fallopian tubes, and all the rest. So in my case, it literally is just like vagina and vulva, right? So yeah, if you don't know what all the parts and pieces are and like what they're supposed to do, then take some time to look it up. You can even just start with something as simple as like look it up on Wikipedia as a starting point. And then you can follow the links, within the articles to read different things. And then you can expand your search to other websites, other videos. Right offhand, I don't have any suggestions other than Wikipedia, because I honestly don't remember how I learned about female anatomy. But it was just looking stuff up on the internet. So that's a starting point. So you've taken some time to learn about your parts and pieces, and you have an idea of what everything is and what it's called. Now you want to start playing with it. Where do you start? I think it is super important to be able to get yourself off manually using just your hands. Sure, there are a lot of really awesome sex toys on the market, which I will get into, but those things cost money, and if you're just starting off, you're not going to have any sex toys. So you need to start with your hands. Now, this is something that is especially important for post-operative transsexuals. For the first 6 months, the doctor said that I could not have anal or vaginal intercourse because everything was still healing up, and thrusting type activities would have potentially damaged my equipment, and that would have been bad. So I started off with just manual external stimulation, and that worked great for me. And so that's one way to start. Just start by just running your hands along your vulva. Just explore your body. Run your fingers along your vulva, like and see what things feel like. Like, feel your labia, feel your hood, feel your clitoris. And some people, they might enjoy more direct clitoral stimulation. Some people may prefer indirect. And, from there you can start exploring your vaginal opening. Run your fingers along your vaginal opening. Then you can, insert fingers into your vagina. And just, and really just get into it and enjoy your body. And just figure out, just kind of just play with yourself. Just touch yourself. And just see what feels good. And one of the things I found with female masturbation versus male masturbation, I found that it's a lot more mental for me these days. Before, it was much more physiological. I could just, I could jerk off with a half an erection and I could manage, to ejaculate. These days, it doesn't work like that. So I have to engage my mind. So, you can start working on like developing sexual fantasies. Like think about maybe sexual scenarios. And I think it's really important to be able to just do this all yourself in your mind without having to rely on porn or erotica or anything like that. Just think about, whatever it is that gets you off. And one of the things that I found about sexual fantasies now versus when I was a man, my sexual fantasies were very much like straight to the point, we're getting it on. These days, I can't just go straight to the getting it on part. I need the before getting it on parts. I have fantasies sometimes where like it all starts off with like me going out on a date with a woman. Like it's starting off with like I'm all dressed up for my date and she picks me up and we go out to dinner and we have this nice dinner and then she invites me over to her place, and then we have, the foreplay and all of this, and then eventually we get to the sex. So that's something that you might need. You might need to think about like romantic stuff. I know that really helps me and that really gets me going. And I find that arousal itself is really, really nice. Like getting aroused as a woman feels so much better than getting aroused as a man. Like here's how male arousal works. At least this is what it was for me. Like basically your dick gets hard and it demands attention. Like the whole joke about men thinking with their dick, like there's truth to that. Seriously, like your dick gets hard and your dick demands attention. And male sexuality it's very visual, which is why men are the primary consumers of porn. It's also very goal-oriented. Like, again, your dick gets hard and demands attention. So, like, and I mean, the dick is so forceful in its attention that, like, there'd be times when I would get an erection that, when I wasn't actually interested in doing anything, but because I would have this erection and my dick would demand attention, I would have to take care of it because, the dick wanted what the dick wanted. These days, with my testosterone levels being so much lower, they're now within the normal female range, I don't have that problem. And it's amazing. So now, I don't have that problem of my body parts, demanding attention. So, and I find that now, like, the arousal is much more emotional. Like, the fact that, like romantic stuff, like, gets me sexually aroused, that's amazing. I remember, like, the first time I had a female arousal, this is when I'd been on estrogen and a testosterone blocker for a while, and the first time I had a female arousal, like it was just this wonderful flood of brain chemicals like I'd never experienced before. It was like I was high. And I said to myself, oh, so this is why women love foreplay so much. Like the feeling was absolutely incredible. And I like the feeling of being sexually aroused so much that like I would be good. I think I would be good with just foreplay. Like, that feels so damn good that even if I didn't have an orgasm, it'd be worth the price of admission. Like, I'm just saying. And in fact, like, I've had such intense arousal and I've gotten so much into being aroused that I actually managed once to have a hands-free orgasm. Which, that's just amazing. Like, the fact that I could do that, that's awesome. But, that's something to worry about for later. But yeah, so just explore your body and get a nice fantasy going. That definitely helps. And you might find that when you're with a partner, you might need to engage in that level of fantasy. You know, because for sure, like I said, my my sexuality now is much more mental. Like before, I could just jerk off with a half an erection and manage to ejaculate, but now I need to engage the mind, and for the most part, I need to mentally allow myself to orgasm. It's really interesting how that works. So, spend a good deal of time just exploring yourself manually, because it's super important to be able to have an orgasm using just your hands and your thoughts. Now, once you've been able to achieve that, then you can start moving on to sex toys, which is something that I've gotten into, and I like them. So here's some thoughts on sex toys from somebody who has experimented with sex toys in the past, mainly anal toys, but also some penis toys as well. But now I'm getting into the more female specific toys. Oh yeah. So you want to spend some time researching your toys. Don't just walk into any old random porn shop and, go looking at something and go, oh, I guess this one looks all right. Don't do that. And those random porn shops, some of them might have good toys, but I've been in enough of these kind of sleazy porn shops that I don't entirely trust them. I've actually been wanting to see if there are any around here just so I can go check them out just to see how terrible their selection is. But it's a good idea just to go online and spend some time, looking up your toys. And as far as shops are concerned, there are good shops there. As far as good shops, the one that I've been to that I can vouch for is Good Vibrations. They have a number of stores in the Bay Area, and I think they've got one in Massachusetts and one I think maybe somewhere else. But I've been to their store in Berkeley, and it's awesome. They have all their toys are out on display, and they've got a friendly, knowledgeable staff that you can ask questions. And so if you can find a good shop like that, that's what you want. Oh, and one of the things is Good Vibrations is a sex shop, not a porn shop. They do not sell porn. Not a single dirty movie or dirty magazine to be found in the whole place. And that is awesome. So, what kind of toys should you get as a beginner? Well, I'll say I'm just going to suggest, the two toys that I started with. A dildo and a vibrator. So, because both of these, a basic vibrator and a basic dildo, they give you a lot to explore. You can explore, So let's talk about first dildos. I got the dildo because I was curious about, penetration. Now, I was already familiar with penetration, but not in the sexual sense, in the clinical sense. Because for those who don't know, my vagina wants to close itself up. That's just standard for the sex reassignment surgery. And so they give you a set of dilators to keep it open. And these are basically just these really hard plastic dildos. I guess they're plastic, I'm not sure, but these hard medical grade dildos, and they come in different sizes. And so you got to use those, and initially you got to use them 4 times a day. So you use these to stretch out your vagina. And they're not fun because it can be uncomfortable, it can be painful, especially when your surgery is fresh. So I wanted to experience penetration from a sexual standpoint, where I'm not just doing it, for medical reasons. I'm actually doing it because I want to see if I enjoy it. And there are like tons and tons and tons of dildos on the market. Now, in my case, one of the considerations I had was the size of the dildo because my vagina does not stretch out the way a natal woman's vagina stretches out. Natal vaginas have ripples in them so they can stretch out to like get big enough to allow a baby to come out. Mine does not do that. So what I ended up doing is I measured my dilator and I figured, okay, I can fit this dilator into my vagina, so that means that I want a dildo no bigger than this, right? And when you're starting off with dildos, you might want to go with something that's a little smaller, a little narrower. So, and there are like tons and tons of dildos on the market made out of a variety of materials. And I would caution you against like the bargain basement dildos. You know, now obviously if you're new, you don't want to spend a ton of money on something that you might not like. But stay away from like the cheapy fucking dime a dozen, dildos at the porn shop. One material that you will see dildos made out of that you need to absolutely stay away from is jelly rubber. This material, it gets really sticky, and so it attracts dust and hair like nobody's business. And jelly rubber is porous, so you cannot sanitize it. There's another material, it's like that a lot of dildos are made out of, a lot of cheap dildos. It's like this like kind of rubber material. That material is all right, but it is porous, so you can't sanitize it. And I would say no to that one. What I would suggest, and this is the route that I went, is silicone. Silicone is a really great material for toys. It's it's non-porous, so you can actually like sanitize it. Like you can put it in the top rack of your dishwasher. You can boil it. Now, I find with the silicone dildo that I've got, it does get a little bit tacky, so it does attract a little bit of dust, but it's not bad. And it's easy, and it's super easy to wash. Oh, and another thing. If you're planning on doing anything anal with your toys, Actually, no, I'll get into that. Okay, you know what? Actually, I'll cover it right now. Yeah, if you're going to do anything anal with your toys, you want to keep in mind that if it went up your ass, it does not go in your vagina unless it has been sanitized. So if you're dealing with like jelly rubber or the other kind of rubber toys, if they've gone up your ass, they do not go in your vagina because you do not want to put feces in your vagina, okay? So what you do is either use a silicone toy that you can sanitize or use a condom on your toy. That's another option. And honestly, if you're going to stick it up your ass, a condom is not a bad idea just because you don't want to get your toy dirty. So now the toy that I ended up going with is the Riley dildo. It's a silicone dildo that comes with a little bullet vibrator that fits in the base. So this is a kind of cool toy because not only do you get to like experience penetration, but you also get to have the vibration there, so you can see if you like vibrating, penetration toys. And right offhand, I don't remember what it cost, but it wasn't like super ridiculous expensive. Now, silicone toys are a little more on the expensive side, but but Riley wasn't too bad. I think it was maybe like 50. I think it was like around $60. Which, yeah, depending on your income level, that might be a lot. But it's a well-made toy. And this one, it has a base on it, which is really cool because this allows you to use it anally and it allows you to use it in a dildo harness. So I've got a toy that's really versatile. If I ever get lucky enough to find myself a woman to have sex with, well, we have the option of using that in a dildo harness if we want to. So it's pretty awesome. Just take a look at all the different toys out there and just see what strikes your fancy. You'll see plenty of dildos that are like realistic. They've got like the head of the penis and the veins and the testicles. And personally, those, I don't care for those. I prefer non-realistic. I don't mind things that are roughly phallic shaped. Like Riley, has a head on it. That's fine. And having the head on there does give you some more sensation options. But my dildo is purple and it doesn't have veins or anything on it. So it's a phallus, not a dick, right? And when you're dealing with penetration, you may or may not need lubricant. It really depends on the person. In my case, my vagina does not self-lubricate, so I need lube. And, because I needed lube for dilation anyway, I ended up buying one of those big-ass jugs of lube on Amazon. And the one that I bought also came with a small bottle of lube. So what I do is I just refill the small bottle from the big jug that's got a little pump on it, and then I can just dispense it directly from that small bottle onto my toys or my dilators. So when you're playing with yourself manually, like get a sense of like how wet do you get? Like when you're sticking your fingers into your vagina, like how wet does it feel? And that'll give you a sense of whether you're going to need to buy lube or not. And I'm far from an expert on lube, so I can't really recommend. The one thing I can recommend is getting a water-based lubricant because those are condom safe. And they will be safe with pretty much, I think they're safe with just about any toy. As far as other materials for dildos, you'll also find dildos made out of metal or made out of glass. Or there's even like wood dildos. But I think a good starting point, which seems to me, is to start with silicone, if you can. Silicone it's durable, you can sanitize it, and it's not like crazy expensive. Like you look at some of these metal toys, like some of those can get kind of pricey. Same thing with the glass. If silicone is out of your price range, you might go with one of those like your rubbery type deals. But stay away from the jelly rubber. Like the jelly rubber is absolutely terrible. And if you've never seen the jelly rubber, the way you can recognize it is it's translucent. Like you'll see things that are like purple or pink or whatever, and it's translucent. The regular sort of rubbery material is opaque. These like translucent, like floppy, sort of dildos, stay away. It's a horrible material. It doesn't last. It gets really tacky, so it just attracts dust and hair like nobody's business. Absolutely stay away. So, and another material, you'll see like these like materials that are supposed to feel more realistic, like cyber skin or whatever the hell they call it. I've never used any toys with that, so I honestly can't comment on it. But just based on the stuff that I have used, I've used jelly rubber stuff. It's crap. I have used in the sort of regular sort of rubber material. I had a butt plug. I've had butt plugs in that material, and honestly, it's not bad. It's not as good as silicone, but it's not bad. If you can't afford silicone, or you're just not ready to shell out for silicone just because you're unsure if you're really going to if you're going to enjoy a penetration toy, then sure, go for something a little cheaper out of like the regular sort of rubber. Okay, next up, vibrators. Vibrators are probably they've been around like ever since the electric motor was invented. Like Good Vibrations at one of their stores in San Francisco, they actually have an antique vibrator museum. And vibrators historically, they were not back massagers. They were actually used for massaging a certain part of the anatomy. Women who were suffering with hysteria, like the treatment for hysteria was for the doctor to get out the vibrator and give them an orgasm. Like, no joke. Now, when you're looking at vibrators, I would suggest going with something that's a little more on the gentle side. Now, one of the classic vibrators is the Magic Wand, previously known as the Hitachi Magic Wand. Now, this toy originally started its life as like just a general purpose like vibrator, like a back massager type vibrator. Well, people figured out that it was good for massaging other parts of the anatomy, and it became very, very popular. I got to handle it at the Good Vibration store in Berkeley, and it's powerful. And I did not buy it because I was concerned about, I was concerned about it being too powerful. So you definitely want something that's going to be a little, more gentle, and also one that has plenty of settings. The Magic Wand has 2 settings, which I've seen those basically described as like essentially high and higher. So now what some people have done with their Magic Wands is getting a dimmer switch that they can plug that into, and then they can dial it down to make it a little more gentle. But for starters, I would say stay away from something as powerful as the Magic Wand. This reminds me of a video from the transsexual woman Princess Jules, where she's a post-op as well. She has this video about like, post-op transsexual tries vibrator, and what she got was a Magic Wand, and it's like, girl, if you've never tried a vibrator, do not start with the Magic Wand. And like what she does in the video is like, she doesn't actually show what's going on downstairs because, YouTube. But you can see it on her face and everything, and you can see that it's too much. It's too intense for her. So yeah, if you've never played with vibrators, don't start with the Magic Wand. Please start with something more gentle. What I ended up going with was one called Bamboo. It's a little kind of rectangular sort of deal that has like a chisel tip on it, and it's powered by a single AAA, and it's got multiple vibration intensities as well as pulsation modes. And this one is more gentle, and that chisel tip is really cool because it gives you different ways you can use it. You can use the flat side, you can use the edge, you can use the corner, and you can just and it's a fairly small vibrator, which is great, for travel purposes. Or if you're in a situation where maybe like you need to be discreet and you want to be able to hide it, like it's not very big. So, you can then just take this and like run it along your labia or use it for stimulating your clitoris. I find that direct clitoral stimulation is a bit much for me. And a part of that may have to do with the fact that my nerves are still kind of getting settled. And like, I'm still to this day getting like nerve regeneration. I'll get these just kind of short, sharp pains. And, I emailed my surgeon to find out what was going on with that. And he was saying that it's the nerves regenerating. And I've actually felt these kind of sensations in my clitoris, and it's really weird, actually, like actually feeling stuff going on inside the clitoris. So yeah, So my clitoris is still, I mean, maybe things will kind of settle down as time progresses, but even though it's been like over 6 months since my surgery, things are still kind of getting settled. So I don't like direct clitoral stimulation. I prefer to like stimulate my hood, and again, this is something that I learned from just playing with myself and experimenting. So vibrators like this, these kind of pinpoint sort of vibrators, like the classic version of this style of vibrator is the pocket rocket. Now, I definitely recommend going, like I said, going with one that's got multiple settings, and the pulsation modes are really cool if you can get one with that. And just, look around, and you can poke around on various, sex shop websites and just see what strikes your fancy. And make sure to look at customer reviews, see if you can find like review videos on YouTube about the toys. And I'm actually planning on doing reviews of both my Riley dildo and my bamboo vibrator. But yeah, start with a kind of more gentle vibrator, and then as you learn if you like this sort of stuff, you can work your way up. And, and something that I would stay away from, at least initially, is like the classic sort of phallic vibrators. Like you have, when you think of a vibrator in the sexual sense, what you think about is like the hard plastic cylinder with the rounded off end that's got the little knob on the bottom to adjust the speed. Like, honestly, these things like have been around forever. They're cheap. Now, I plan on getting one just because I'm curious. I'm curious to see what these are like. But they're so basic that I suspect it's not going to be anything spectacular. I suspect it's just going to be kind of like, okay, So, yeah, again, I would probably stay away from these for now, just because they are so cheap and basic. That said, if your options are limited, and say you do end up at ye old porn shop, and that's the kind of stuff they've got, you can try it. Now, the only thing is, one of the issues with these is that I don't think they're going to be as good for external stimulation just because of their size. Sure, you can run them externally around your labia, but something that's a little smaller is going to be better for like getting into your, to stimulate your clit more directly. So yeah, so I definitely would recommend more like smaller vibrators, smaller, more kind of pinpoint type vibrators, and ones that have multiple settings. More than just intensity settings, but if they also have like pulsation modes, that's very cool too. And and that's kind of, as far as masturbation goes, that's kind of where I'm at now. I've just been playing around with my bamboo vibrator, my fingers, and my Riley dildo, and just still exploring. And now I'm kind of looking into expanding my horizons. Like I'm looking to get a magic wand vibrator. And they have a cordless version of the magic wand that has like more intensity settings and everything. So I'm debating on whether I get the classic plug-in model, or do I spend a little more and get the cordless model. I haven't decided yet. Another type of toy that's probably going to be my next toy that I'm actually probably going to purchase next month is they have these clitoral stimulators. There's a couple of brands that I'm familiar with right off the top of my head. One is Womanizer, and the other one is Satisfier. I got to handle the Womanizer at the Good Vibrations shop in Berkeley, and these are really interesting. Like they have this little kind of rubbery piece, like a sort of rubber cylinder kind of piece that goes over your clitoris, and then it like emits these like little puffs of air. It's really interesting, and apparently these types of toys like will get you off like really quick. Like you'll end up having like a powerful orgasm like in 3 minutes. And the sex toy tester Venus O'Hara, she talked about how when she's masturbating using various toys, like she has to be having a sexual fantasy and she's got all that going on. But with toys like the womanizer, it's all physiological. Like she doesn't have the option not to get off. Like it just bam, 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 and like she's done. And so that's going to be really interesting to see if that actually works like it does for her, where it's quick and it doesn't require any mental stimulation. I'm really curious, and I'm planning on doing like a first impressions video when I get that toy. So yeah, and I guess as I explore, my sexuality and get more into masturbation, I'm going to keep, hopefully making more videos and sharing stuff that I've learned. And so everyone else can kind of join me on this journey of sexual pleasure and like exploring myself as a woman and just really getting to just really like enjoy my body. When I was a man, like I masturbated every single day, sometimes more than once a day. And that was just because of my testosterone levels. Like I had a high enough testosterone that, my dick demanded it. But my orgasms were always for the most part, they were mediocre. It was just, usually masturbating, before going to sleep, and it was just a quickie little jerk off, and you ejaculate and then you're done. And it just wasn't very good. But as a woman, I'm finding like with my testosterone levels as low as they are, the frequency in which I masturbate has gone down a lot, but the quality of the orgasms has gone up a lot too. And so it's amazing, like having the right hormones in my body and the right kind of equipment, just what that's done. And it's just awesome. I mean, it's so awesome to finally get to really enjoy my body in ways that I never could as a man. So yeah. So I guess that's sort of like kind of it for this video, and I hope you found it useful or informative, entertaining, what have you. And if you have any kind of questions or comments, like please leave them in the video description, down in the comments, and I will try to answer them as best I can. And I have an adult section on my Discord server, so if you want to have a more like real-time chat with me, please drop into my Discord server. There's an invite link in the video description, and we can talk about stuff. And, if you have any questions about, sex reassignment surgery or just trans-related anything, like feel free to ask, because I would rather people be educated than remain ignorant. So yes, if you enjoyed this video, please like and please subscribe. And I'm going to see if I can see about setting up a Patreon for this channel, because that would be cool if you could support my videos once I get that going. And once I get a Patreon set up for this channel, I will put a link in the video description. So maybe by the time you get around to watching this video, it'll be there. And that is it for this video. And so this is Jennifer, your transsexual toy tester, signing off.